I'm Eleanor Briggs, 32, and one rainy Thursday evening in Oxford changed everything I thought I knew about love, family, and truth. I'd just ended what felt like another ordinary call with my parents. We'd talked about the weather, my work deadlines, and the Sunday roast we'd have together. I set my phone on the counter beside the kettle, waiting for the familiar click that meant the line had gone dead. It didn't come. Instead, their voices kept spilling through the speaker, soft at first, then sharper. They hadn't hung up. My father's tone, cool and mechanical, carried across the kitchen. "Living with her is awful," he said flatly. "We're only staying because of her money." Then came my sister's laugh, Chloe's laugh, low, cruel, knowing. I froze, breath snagging in my throat. My hand hovered over the phone, but I couldn't move. Each word carved through me like glass. My parents, my own sister, speaking as if I were an inconvenient landlord instead of a daughter. I stood there until the call finally clicked silent. The kettle began to whistle. Rain pressed harder against the window panes. I didn't cry, not then. I just whispered, they hadn't hung up, as if saying it aloud would make it make sense. /////. The next morning the world pretended nothing had happened. I poured tea, buttered toast, laid out plates for 4. My parents came down together, Mum chirping about the neighbor's new car, Dad hiding behind the Guardian. Chloe wandered in last, dressing gown half-tied, eyes glued to her phone. "Morning," I said. Dad muttered something about coffee, Mum smiled too widely, Chloe ignored me entirely. The sound of teaspoons and rain filled the gaps where warmth used to live. 3 years earlier, after Grandad died, I'd inherited his cottage on the edge of Oxford, ivy-clad, creaky-floored, perfect. I'd invited them to move in, thinking it would keep us close. I covered the bills, the groceries, even Mum's trips to Marks and Spencer. I thought I was generous. I thought we were happy. Now every memory flickered under a harsher light. Had they ever seen me as more than a safety net? I picked up my phone and opened a new note. Dad avoids eye contact. Mum too cheerful. Chloe detached, always on her phone. I kept adding lines, tiny truths that had been waiting in the dark. That afternoon at work, while my colleagues debated sprint goals, I stared at lines of code that blurred into questions. How long had they felt that way? What else had I missed? ////. By Friday, I needed answers. At breakfast, Dad leaned across the table, casual as anything. "How's that investment account doing, Elle?" he asked. My stomach turned. "Fine," I said. "Rain again later." He nodded, eyes flicking away. Mum came home that evening with shopping bags, silk scarves, designer shoes, and said, "You work so hard, love. We deserve to enjoy it too." We. That word rattled around my head as I dug through the drawer in my home office. Bills, statements, receipts, all in my name. A £420 dinner at a steakhouse in London I'd never visited. £1,800 to a boutique wholesaler. Subscriptions I didn't use. My pulse thudded in my ears. I typed another note, evidence. Later that night I sat in a cafe on High Street opposite Christine, my oldest friend. The lamps painted her face gold. I told her everything, the call, the laughter, the receipts. She listened quietly, stirring her latte until the foam vanished. "You're not crazy," she said. "Get the facts. Protect yourself." Her calm steadied me more than comfort could. That night I logged into my NatWest account. For the first time, I examined every transaction. There they were, transfers labeled consulting, miscellaneous, supplier. Thousands of pounds trickling out over months to an account I didn't recognize. I copied the sort code, ran a search. The account belonged to Chloe Briggs Limited, Her failed clothing brand. My breath caught. They hadn't just spent my money, they'd funneled it. Quietly. Together. I sat back, staring at the glow of the screen. Then I moved. I opened a new account, only in my name. Transferred half my inheritance, 6 figures, into it. Changed every password. Locked them out of shared access. My hands trembled, but my mind was glass clear. Saturday morning I tried subtle. "Mum," I said while she chopped carrots, "some transfers came through from my account. Do you know about them?" She froze, smiled too brightly. "Oh, just gifts for Chloe, love. You know, to help her get back on her feet. Without asking me. We share, darling. That's what families do." Her voice wobbled on the last word. I thanked her, dried my hands, and walked out of the kitchen. Upstairs I wrote one line, she called theft sharing. That night I hardly slept. I heard footsteps on the stairs, cupboards opening, whispered conversations drifting through the hallway. They hadn't hung up, echoed again, except now it wasn't a phone line, it was life itself refusing to disconnect. Sunday dinner. Roast chicken, potatoes, the scent of thyme. I waited until the plates were full. "I heard you," I said. "Last week. You didn't hang up." Silence. Dad's knife hovered mid-slice. Mum's smile turned brittle. Chloe looked up, eyes narrow. "What are you talking about?" Mum asked. "You said living with me is awful, that you're only here for my money." Dad sighed. "It was just talk, Elle, don't twist it." Mum nodded quickly. "We were joking, sweetheart. You know we love you." Chloe laughed. "You're so dramatic." I stood. My chair scraped the floor. "Then explain the thousands transferred to your company," I said, voice steady. Color drained from Mum's face. "That was for family," she whispered. "Family doesn't steal," I said. Chloe crossed her arms. "You're controlling. You always act like you're above us." I unlocked my phone, opened a screenshot, and placed it on the table. Her own post gleamed on the screen. "My stingy sister thinks she's better than us. Maybe money can buy walls but not love." Mum gasped. Dad looked away. Chloe's smirk vanished. "I saw the post," I said. "I saw the transfers. I'm done." Dad's voice hardened. "Don't be ridiculous. We're family." I looked at him, at all of them. "Then pack your things. You're leaving tomorrow." No one spoke. Mum's fork clattered onto her plate. Chloe laughed once, hollow. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said. "But not as much as I'd regret staying, /////." They moved out at dawn. I heard the suitcases roll down the hall, the front door click, then silence. The cottage felt cavernous. I wandered room to room, Dad's glasses missing from the table, Mum's throw gone from the sofa, Chloe's charger no longer curled by the plug. Texts came before breakfast. "Mum, we're sorry. Can we talk?" "Dad, you're overreacting." "Chloe, didn't have to kick us out." I left them unread. By noon I sat in St. Aldate's chambers, across from a solicitor with sharp eyes and a fountain pen. I told her everything. She drafted a cease and desist, her voice clipped but kind. "Any further attempt to access your accounts could constitute fraud," she said. I signed, initials trembling slightly. It felt like reclaiming breath. That evening I stood in my kitchen, empty table, silent kettle. I poured a cup of tea and watched the steam twist upward like ghosts leaving. The house was mine again, but the quiet was heavy. I remembered Dad teaching me to ride a bike, Mum baking birthday cakes, Chloe plaiting my hair. Those memories hurt because they'd once been true. Days blurred into weeks. I changed locks, cancelled subscriptions, painted the living room a pale blue that caught the morning light. I walked along the Thames, bought fresh flowers from the Saturday market, started sleeping through the night. Then one morning an email arrived from NatWest, unusual login attempt blocked. I smiled faintly. Nice try, Mum, I whispered, deleting it. // 2 months later I listed the cottage for sale. When the offer came through, I packed quietly, donating half of what we'd gathered. On the final day I stood in the doorway and whispered, they hadn't hung up. This time, it felt like closure. York smelled of rain and fresh bread. My new flat overlooked the River Ouse. Mornings began with coffee and the sound of church bells. Christine visited with takeaway Thai and a playlist of old songs. We ate cross-legged on the floor among unpacked boxes, laughing without effort. This place suits you, she said. It's the first one that's mine, I replied. Word of my family drifted north. Dad worked part-time at a hardware shop. Mum sold jewelry online. Chloe's fashion brand collapsed after her investors saw the mess. Her social media went silent. For the first time, their silence didn't hurt, it simply existed. One rainy evening I opened my phone. A new message blinked from Chloe. I'm sorry. I can't pay rent. Just £500, please. My thumb hovered. Part of me wanted to help, the child still chasing approval. But another part remembered that night in Oxford. They hadn't hung up. I deleted the message. That was the night I realized peace isn't free, it's something you buy with boundaries. Months later, my life found rhythm again. Work, walks, markets, friends. On Sundays I'd sit by the window with a mug of Earl Grey, listening to the bakery below hum with life. I thought often about forgiveness, how it's not letting people back in, but letting the pain move out. One afternoon Christine asked, "Do you ever miss them?" I thought of Mum's laugh, Dad's stories, Chloe's hand in mine when we were small. Sometimes, I said. But I don't miss who they became. Because love without honesty isn't love, it's a contract you never signed. If they ever truly understand what they did, maybe one day we'll meet for tea somewhere halfway between Oxford and York. No talk of money, no pretending. Just 3 people learning how to love without keeping score. Until then, when I hang up a call, I do it with peace, not regret. Because this time, the silence that follows belongs to me. // Thank you for listening to my story. It means the world to share it with you. If it moved you, please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. It helps me keep telling stories like this one. Stay strong and I'll see you in the next one.